Hi, welcome to the R2 unit demonstration. This will show you how to use the R2 GPS or GNSS unit as it's called with Collector for ArcGIS. First things first, make sure that there's a battery in the unit. There's these little prongs here. You just pinch them together and you pull that tray out. Inside you'll find the battery. You just need to charge that battery every time you use it. Connect the prongs inside this little tray here, make sure it's plugged in. You'll see that it's flashing green. When it's fully charged, it'll be a solid green. That's when you know it's ready to go. Go ahead, put it back in the tray. Go ahead, slide that tray back inside that unit. You should hear it click. It's in securely, you're good to go. Turn it on, just press and release. The light might turn off, sometimes it does. I'm going to go ahead and just push that one more time if it does. Looks like it's on. Okay, now we're ready to connect to the unit. Now the first thing before you go into Collector is to make sure you're connected to it via Bluetooth. So go into your settings, whether that's your iPhone or your Android device. Very similar here. It says that I don't have any connections currently, but it does say other devices. For you, you might see it in this category here, where it says like R1 or R2 something or R2 here. Just find the appropriate one. In this case, I don't have one synced up that is within range. It looks like now I'm connected to it, right, since I connected. Now I can go ahead and switch over to where I'm going to connect it to the program. In this case, I opened up Collector already, so you'll have to know the login in order to get to it. Once you're inside of Collector, there's a little profile in the upper left. Go ahead, tap on that. Now that I'm inside of here, we just need to go through some options. Some of it's related to the GPS and some of it's not, but let's go ahead and talk about them all anyways. The accuracy. That only determines what it won't collect outside of. So for example, if I have this GPS unit and I don't want it to collect outside of 4 feet, I'll go ahead and set that to 4 feet. In a lot of cases, you can just pay attention to where you're collecting the data and do it yourself. But if you want to make sure that you're for sure always going to get within X amount of feet, go ahead and set that distance. I'm going to go ahead and leave it. You can turn that 95% confidence interval in. It just increases the accuracy. There's not really any cons to using that. The GPS averaging, that's how long you take a shot for. I recommend if you're shooting higher accuracy things that you use up to 5 points. If you're shooting lower accuracy things, you can even use just 2 points. It's just going to receive satellite data and give you a better positioning for the more points that you have. Typically, anything over 5 isn't doing you much good, so no more than 5. Streaming, just ignore that. If you want to stream, it's essentially where you take the GPS, you walk, and then it traces where you're walking, except it's not that great, right? Because if you're drawing in a pipeline's not going to look all like this, right? You just want a straight line from one valve to the next. So typically I don't recommend for rural water systems to be using streaming unless you're trying to outline like a natural feature. The photo upload size, go ahead, leave that at large. You want that at large. If you do something small, it's going to reduce the resolution. No, it doesn't increase the storage on your phone, and no, it doesn't cost you much more to store it on Collector if it were a smaller one. Just stick with large so you have good quality images. Trust me, it's worth it. Related types, you can go ahead and turn that on. It doesn't affect anything. Snapping, leave that on. It just makes it so that way you can snap to different elements. So for example, if you're collecting data and you want to snap a valve to a pipe and make sure everything's connected, or vice versa, it would make more sense that you're snapping pipe to valves, right? Since you'll be locating more of those above ground features. The location provider, this is where we're actually going to connect to the device. The integrated provider is your cellular service. That means whatever is inside your phone, tablet, computer, it's going to use that integrated GPS. That's not what we want. What we want in this situation is we want to use Trimble units. So Trimble Banner, let's see, Trimble Banner 1 is the one I'm using. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And once I've done that, I can hit profile and go back. If you don't see yours which I just realized could be an issue, you can go ahead and click Add. When you click Add, in this case, here, let me go ahead and just forget this device. Looks like there's not an option for me to forget that device. So what you would do is you would come in here and you would click Add. Once you've clicked Add, then it'll ask you for this information. In this case, your antenna height should be 2 meters. You're not collecting vertical data. I don't have it set up for that. If you want to, we can talk about it, but currently it's not really set up for that. And then the source, in this case, I have SBAS. SBAS is an option. So if you don't want to use your VRS network for some reason that day, go ahead and use SBAS. I'm guessing though you're going to want to use your NTRIP, which is your VRS network. If you don't remember, Frontier Precision sent you over a sheet with your package that has your username, password, port number, etc. to connect to your VRS network. That's going to give you that 7 inches of accuracy. SBAS typically gives you 3 to 5 feet, which is still 3 times better than what you can get on your cell phone, and I still consider it fairly accurate. For now, for everyone's sake, we'll do NTRIP. I've got that set up. I'm going to hit done, and now that I've connected there, I need to set up my profile. Okay, so pay attention carefully here. If you want to use your VRS network, you need to use a NAD83 coordinate system. If you want to use your SBAS, you need to use the WGS to Mercator. Now I'm going to show you how those work. For you, you'll have to tap Add, okay? So you tap Add, and then you'll go through and add these bits of information in. This is the information you'll enter. I'll go ahead and leave this up for a second so you can look at it. You'll see here that the GNSS coordinate system, in this case it would be the first option when you go to Add, will be GCS NAD83. In this scenario, this little number down here, this 104145, you can just enter that. You don't need to actually type in this whole code. Just type in 104145. Then when it asks you for a map coordinate system, go ahead and type in 3857. Once you get to the datum transformation, you'll see a map, right? Go ahead and just hit next. That's not going to matter. Then you'll go ahead and choose the WGS 1984 to NAD83 2011 USA, CONUS, and Alaska's PRVI. I know that's a lot, just stare at the screen for a second, make sure you have it right. Now for SBAS, you need to use the WGS to Mercator. You'll see there's no datum transformation because there is none for this. So your first option will be 4326, and your second option will be 3857. In this case, we're going to use the VRS network, so I'm going to use the NAD83 projection. Once I've done that, I need to go back and make sure that my provider in this case is set up. So it looks like my source is NTRIP, right? So I'm just double checking the settings. My source is NTRIP. I need to set my server. I forgot to set my server. In this case, my server is this information. So I'm going to take that off screen. I have a username of Frank P, but that's not what I want. I want URL. So my URL is mcores, and yours will be different. I'm just using the free one that Minnesota has. We're close enough neighbors that I can use that. And then the port, you should be provided the port as well. I'm using 9001 in this case. Now when I hit connect, it's going to say querying for mount points. Now you're going to get CMRX, CMR Plus. You can go between CMRX and CMR Plus. They're both usable, just sometimes one is more available that day than the other. And you'll know what I mean when you go to connect. Just bear with me while it connects. It typically doesn't take this long. It could just be that I'm using the Minnesota Cores network. Let me go ahead and just try our VRS network ourselves. So that's 900. Oh, sorry, that's 96.3.209. .30. Okay, and that is 2103. I'm gonna go ahead and click connect. Okay. Sometimes it won't connect if you're inside a building, so I highly recommend going outside and trying to connect. In this case, it seems to be that scenario. Yep, so that seems to be the scenario here. I'm inside a building, so I'm not getting good connection. I'm going to go ahead and skip that part and back out, and I'm going to switch back over to my SBAS. So if I want to do that, I switch from source and go to SBAS. Hit done, profile, go back, make sure that the profile, which is confusing that they name profile and profile, but in this case, the location profile, this needs to be in WGS Mercator since I'm using SBAS. Again, I'm not going to get a good connection here, so what I'll have to do is just, yeah, you see how it says GPS location not available? I'm getting that because I'm indoors and there's no satellites. So again, make sure you're doing this outside. You'll see here that it says provider, profile, altitude, all that stuff. You can view the current status of your GPS right here, and it'll start working for you. In this case, I don't have one that's working because I'm inside. At the end of the video here, I'll walk outside. We'll lose audio, but at least you'll be able to see what it looks like when it's working. So you come in here and you tap on like photo point, for example. Immediately, it will ask you to, it'll start averaging, excuse me. When it starts averaging your location, it's going to place that dot on the map. If you want to get your location again, you're going to have to click start averaging, because typically when people click add point, they're not ready yet, right? They're not ready steady. Another thing too is when you go to collect your data, you see this little bubble here on this rod? Make sure that you're looking down at that bubble and making sure that you're level. I don't know if I showed you this, but when you go to connect your rod, twist the rod, don't twist the head of the unit. It's better to drop the rod than to drop the unit. So now that I'm going to lose audio, I'm going to go outside with this, and hopefully this will all stay connected, and you'll be able to witness my screen here. So you'll see that I went to query the mount points again. I think it does take a minute to load. Once you load them once, it's fine, but I haven't done it for this particular device, so that's why you're not seeing it. But do notice that when I did switch back over to Ntrip, that I switched back to NAT83. In most cases, I would go ahead when you're done for the day to put it back into default just to remind yourself, and even reset your provider. Unless you're just using one device all the time and you're always connecting to the unit, then you can leave everything. It's just a good habit to get into. Then you remember how to do this every time you have troubleshooting issues. That pretty much concludes how to connect to your R2 unit. I didn't go too in depth into how to actually run collector. If you need help with that, feel free to give me a call. Maybe I'll make another follow-up video of this, just how to use collector. It's pretty straightforward. We saw how to collect a photo point. When you tap it, you fill out the data, right? Go ahead, hit cancel if you don't want to collect a point. If you want to collect a line, you'll notice that it's a bit different. Let's see. I don't think here's a line. So it's going to start averaging, right? Then I'll move on to the next one. In this case, I'm going to hit stop averaging because I'm not actually out there. I'm going to hit add point. Now, that's assuming that you collected the point with the GPS, right? So I'm going to use target location, but you should be using start averaging. So in your case, hit start averaging. So walk to your new location, hit start averaging. In this case, I'm using something else. Go ahead, click add point, start averaging, and you just keep walking to each location, and you do it that way. Don't forget to fill out your data. If you need to delete a point, you can tap these three bars here and click delete selected point. So say you collect a bad one, just tap on the point that you want to delete and it'll delete it out for you. If you need to move an existing point, hit update selected point and then start averaging. See how it moved it? If you ever lose yourself, right, like say for some reason you end up all the way over here, tap this little arrow up here and it'll bring you back. So go ahead, hit cancel, get out of there. If you need to turn layers on and off, just tap the layers icon. There you go. If you need to search for an address or a customer number or something, you can use the search bar up here. If you need to change your base map, just come up here. If you need to view the legend or you want to measure something, you certainly can. And you can even measure using your location. So say you don't want to collect data, but you just want to know how far something is. Just use that measure thing just like you would use when you're creating a line, right? And so in order to use your location to find that data, what you need to do is tap your location and it'll draw that. I'm so far zoomed out. Let's zoom in here. I'm going to tap my arrow. Brings me right to that. You see that? So now that I collected at my location, I'm going to measure it again, right? You can just keep measuring. Notice how it's in miles. Go ahead and tap on miles and change that to feet. This measures area and this measures length. If you don't want to measure anymore, either hit done or hit trash and it'll reset your measuring. I think I about covered it all again. If you have more questions, just give me a call and we can talk about it. Thanks for watching.